Man, does it stink right now if you're an Oklahoma Sooner fan. Of course, the first and foremost topic I want to address before we get to the byline of this video, thoughts right now going up to those Sooner players who contracted COVID-19. 9 of them, as a matter of fact, as Lincoln Riley mentioned over the weekend. Hopefully, they're not showing symptoms, and hopefully they can recover during this quarantine time and get back to full health as soon as possible. Now let's talk about Kennedy Brooks. Now, Kennedy Brooks, leading Sooner rusher as far as running backs for the last 2 years, averaged over 1,000 yards each of those past 2 seasons. And, I remember 2 years ago, he rushed for 4 digits for the season, despite the fact that he only touched the ball 119 times. And last year, didn't touch it a whole lot more, 154 times. That's one heck of a yards per carry average for Kennedy Brooks. Well, Kennedy Brooks has decided to opt out of the 2020 season. Certainly takes your breath away if you're a Sooner fan. Not the news you wanted to hear, but I do respect his decision because, again, COVID-19 is nothing to play around with at all. Well, it's not just the fact that you don't have Kennedy Brooks for the 2020 season. Remember how valuable Jalen Hurts was last year as a runner. Of course, Heisman Trophy second-place finish, All-American at quarterback, but we knew he was just going to be a 1-year deal. It was his final year of eligibility, now with the Philadelphia Eagles. Trey Sermon, was going to be a part of this backfield as well entering 2020, but during the offseason, he decided to transfer. He's now with Ohio State. Of course, you know that the Big Ten and Pac-12, they postponed the 2020 season, so Trey Sermon, he won't be playing for the Oklahoma Sooners, but again, he won't be playing at all because there's no Big Ten football season, no Ohio State football for 2020. So that means you have 3 big-time rushing weapons, Hurts and, of course, the 2 running backs, Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon, no longer available. So what does this do to the Oklahoma Sooner backfield? We now look at Ramondre Stevenson, 6 feet plus tall, 230, 235 pounds, bruising type running back, hard to bring down, and he loves to hit. He's very physical, tries not to let anything get in his path, type of running back, a meat potatoes type running back. Well, wait. You don't have Stevenson for at least the first 5 games of this year because he tested positive last year for drugs right before the Peach Bowl. So he didn't get to play against LSU in the college football playoff. And he's going to miss half the season unless there's an appeal to get the suspension reduced in some way, shape, or form. But considering that right now we are in a pandemic and considering that NCAA probably has other things to do, I wouldn't be surprised if that 5-game suspension, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it remains 5 games. So again, that's half the season gone for Ramondre Stevenson. So now we go even lower in the depth chart, and you find T.J. Pledger. You find Marcus Major. Pledger's played a couple of seasons for the Sooners, but last year he and Marcus Major, the one-time Millwood Falcon, they have a combined 20 touches, okay? A combined 20 carries from last year. So there's not much experience at all in the backfield, and you have no experience at all coming from Seth McGowan. Now, Seth played high school ball at Mesquite last year, put up some big-time stats, both rushing as well as touchdowns. But this was probably going to be a redshirt year for him, considering that the Sooners looked like they were all set as far as the depth chart goes at running back. But we know that situation has changed big time within just a matter of months. So expect Seth to get plenty of touches. If you're looking at other options, that's really just about it. What I've mentioned, McGowan, Pledger, as well as Major. You might say Jeremiah Hall, but he's more of an H-back. I think he might have gotten 3 or 4 carries last year. So for the Sooners, they've got to address this situation ASAP. But the good news for the Sooners, if there is any good news right now that we can say, they've got plenty of time to try to figure things out. You might remember that the OU versus Missouri State game, the opener was going to be on August 29th, but that game, because of the revised Big 12 schedules, has now been updated to September the 12th, which will be the second Saturday of September. So the Sooners still got plenty of time to get ready, and besides this Missouri State, that should basically be like a scrimmage. The first true test will be September the 26th against the only team that beat the Sooners last year in Big 12 play, Kansas State, but this time the Sooners get them in Norman, September 26th, 2 weeks after the Missouri State game. So you really have a little over a month before you face a true test in Kleiman's squad from Manhattan, Kansas. So that's the way things look right now. Again, Kennedy Brooks, I don't fault him for opting out. I don't fault anybody at all for opting out. You might know my thoughts on this if you saw my video from a while back. I don't think there's going to be a college football season. Was I right? Well, yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint that the Big Ten and Pac-12 and several other teams aren't playing the 2020 campaign. I know it's a lesser level, but my alma mater, UCO, from Division II, they're not playing the 2020 season either. So I was partially right. Hopefully, there aren't any major hiccups coming up for the ACC, SEC, and Big 12, the 3 Power 5 conferences who are going to give it a shot. Hopefully they can get through the season without interruption, and hopefully they can be able to finish the season. But considering what COVID-19 has been so far, the odds aren't exactly very favorable. But hopefully these teams can beat the odds, and we'll see. And hopefully the Sooners can get the running back situation fixed as soon as possible. Boomer Sooner.